they just wheeled out the former Twitter employees into DC for a Senate hearing, and we've seen, I guess, some action taken on the Twitter files. What did you make of that hearing? What do you make in general of Twitter files and then the reception from mainstream media, government, etc.?
Which has largely been suppressed. It's another story that's not gaining any traction. It's not able to be covered. I go back to, for me, one of the pivotal moments. People talk about, well, Robert, when were you red-pilled? And it's more like a continuum of ingestion of red pills over the last 3 years. After the Brett Weinstein podcast.
Can you give a little history about that? Because not everyone knows, your history of becoming famous / infamous over the last few years.
That was really, people talk about Rogan, but it was really that podcast that was, I think, it was titled "How to Save the World in 3 Easy Steps." That was Brett's title for that.
Kudos to Brett for the title.
Yeah.
That was 2021.
And it leads off with a clip of a gravestone that says Sherlock on it. So he's making reference to Sherlock Holmes and investigations in British literature, of course. And so the context is that about a month and a half prior to that, I had been contacted out of the blue by this Silicon Valley entrepreneur, person who was involved in inventing the optical mouse, named Steve Kirsch, who had, to his credit, unlike some of these venture philanthropists, actually truly been a philanthropist in the medical space and didn't seek to profit off of it or grow his investment portfolio through the things that he learned. I'm referring to another notable venture philanthropist based in Washington State. So Steve is real deal. He's had many year history of giving in the medical space, and he has dropped money with Washington University in St. Louis to advance the clinical testing and development of a repurposed drug, fluvoxamine. And the clinical trials have come out looking really positive. It has, there's some accepted tolerability problems that some people have with it, but in terms of the response to the virus, they're really positive compared to standard of care, which is, remdesivir and overventilate them and kill them, to be blunt. We'll just say that there's high level of mortality associated with the accepted protocol at the time. And so WashU's run this study. Steve has tried to get the attention of the FDA, assuming that he could get emergency use authorization for this repurposed drug. And he got stonewalled. And someone tells him to call up this guy Malone, who understands the government and understands regulatory affairs and can work the levers and help make things happen. So we have this chat. I set up a discussion with BARDA, which he's asked for. I mean, I can easily broker that, and we have the meeting. And it's a fascinating moment in time for me because Steve, this engineer that has let's say the personality profile of an electrical engineer, who I grew up, my father was one.
Mine too.
My father-in-law was one. It's a unique frame of reference. Yes. And Steve embodies that. And so he's coming at this transaction with a senior official at the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Agency, which is the big funding arm. They fund the billion-dollar contracts or multi-$100-million contracts for development and acquisition of drugs and vaccines and other biologics for medical countermeasures. So Steve and I have this call, and Steve is saying, yeah, but I have these data. Yeah, but this can save lives. And both the senior person from BARDA and myself are sitting here going, yeah, but it doesn't work that way, Steve. No, you have to do this. No, you have to do, there's this bureaucratic hoop, and this person asks, and as I'm going through it, I'm I'm having this cognitive dissonance where I'm finding myself repeating the things that I've been trained and simultaneously being acutely aware of Steve's perspective. And I realize how insane the system has become as I'm encountering it through Steve's eyes as just somebody coming in. Nothing comes of it. There's no action by the FDA, there's no action by BARDA. But a few weeks later, I get this phone call, Robert, you need to go on this podcast, which I hardly knew what a podcast was, with this guy, Brett Weinstein, the Dark Horse podcast. And I'm like, oh man, that sounds ominous. This sounds like the dark web. I'm not sure I'm ready to go there. Who is this guy? And I look him up. He's clearly a intellectual academic, evolutionary biologist. I'm intimidated. And Steve says, I want to fly you out to Oregon and we're going to do this podcast. And so I go in and I'm like, okay, Steve, I'll do it. And we Uber over to Brett's house, which the studio's in the upper floor. And we, usually he only does a one-on-one around this little round table with the little mini studio he has set up. And his son usually runs the audio and the cameras, but his son's at school. And Brett tees it up and he says, you know, none of our lives will ever be the same after we do this. Are you really ready to go through with this? At the time there was jabber about me and the Nobel Prize. And Steve was the CEO of this company that he'd started. And Brett had already been under threat that he would be demonetized. So we all had at stake. Steve had the least, seemingly the most secure position. He's the CEO of his own company. And we kind of look at each other and say, Brett says, are you really ready for this? And we're all like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. Let's go. 2 hours of three old men sitting around a table talking to each other, and it just goes poink.
What were you talking about?
The jab and about ivermectin in particular. And I'm just talking about the regulatory issues. And at the time, the Byron Bridle has already done his reveal, and I've done my essay about the Japanese Common Technical Document from Pfizer, which shows what a horrid job was done. They just, bypassed all norms in terms of regulatory affairs in the non-clinical package. And it was really shocking for me and others that read it, that had a background in regulatory affairs and clinical trials, that this would be allowed to proceed based on this junk, really. It's cobbled together garbage, like they scraped it off of somebody's lab bench, put it together in a package and submitted it. And the FDA said, yep, good enough, let's go. And let's start putting in people. And it was
This is
shocking.
the vaccination itself from Pfizer.
It was shocking how little had been done. So we talked about that. We talked about the biodistribution data that was in there that showed that these had an unusual affinity for ovarian tissue, and they didn't stay in the muscle as was being promoted, etc. And we talked about ivermectin, and Brett at the time was a firm believer that if ivermectin was deployed globally, we would shut down this outbreak. I was a skeptic because I didn't think ivermectin really was an antiviral. I've had to change my position. Ivermectin has multiple different activities. I think in retrospect, Brett was the one that was closest. But it popped north of 1 million views within like 24 hours. And then YouTube cut it and deplatformed it. And Brett got demonetized, which was a huge hit because that's what his family was living on.
His whole channel got demonetized, everything.
Yeah. He could still have stuff up at that point, but no monetization. And that triggered a series of events for him. I think it was a hard, dark place for him for a while. But he managed to recover. And it turned out that the reason that the demonetization happened was not because of anything we said about the jab and about the regulatory package. It was about Brett's advocacy for ivermectin. That was forbidden fruit.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year is going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone. Also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline. I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up. If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?